sisters for a very important purpose. The Symposium on the third and the 11th encyclical of the Holy Father Pope Francis, Fratelli, Tutti, brothers, on fraternity and social friendship. We are here to help, encourage, support, and inspire each other to live our life better in the community and in our society. At this point of time, I would like to comment very less because we are going to hear our sisters who will be presenting the same thematically chapter by chapter. And so before I begin my formal address, here I would like to invite all our little sisters. At the moment they are resource persons for us. I call upon them to come over the podium and occupy their respective places. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to them. They have worked very hard to this hour. They have understood and they will be explaining to us. Therefore, let us listen to their presentation attentively and we wish them all the best. Without taking much time, I would like to mention a few names whom I owe my gratefulness as the moderator for the day for this session. In the first place, while welcoming Reverend Mother Catherine SLES, the Provincial Superior, for your mighty support to this endeavor, and above all, for your gracious presence for the symposium this happy afternoon. All things are happening positively under your watchful care and leadership. We thank you for this, dear sister. And to our dear loving sister, Versita, the Vicar Provincial, who is responsible for the juniors and also for today's symposium. She has done all planning and organizational works for the good of us all who are gathered here and all the sisters of the province. Sister, we thank you for reposing your confidence in us. We thank you for your presence amidst us this afternoon. Certainly, all the sisters deserve my appreciation and thanks. But to cut it short, I would like to mention the one whose name represents each and every sister in the provincial community. She is none other than our lovable Reverend Sister Bridget, the superior of the provincial community. Sister, your pure and unassuming smile always gives us a happy feelings that compels us to do our best, especially to me personally. Thank you for being such a sisterly figure to all of us. At the end, we are grateful to all other provincial councillors who are stationed in different places and regions. We are thinking of you today, dear sisters. And to you, dear loving sisters, who will be listening to this important symposium on the papal encyclical Fratelli Tutti, on the fraternity and social friendship, via video that will be passed to you. We wish that you were here today, but it is not possible during these pandemic times. But remember, you are taught of, and we are united in prayer and through learning together. And I wish you a joyful study on the encyclical. I assure you that the presentation of our talented sisters will make it easier for you to understand and study better. But if there were to be any doubt or major doubts, we will devise some means to get in touch with you through the help of the provincial administrative team. So once again, to you all my sisters, Fratelli Tutti, I am personally wishing you well. And having said that, I now would like to invite Sister Cecilia to set this symposium rolling through her introductory note. Yes, but not before a word of thanking to her. There is a saying which goes, the provincials give orders, the superiors plan, the formators execute, but the formists had their last laughter. The concern and ideas were conceived. To these, many sisters have put up a lot of effort to translate it to this reality. Among them, Sister Cecilia, who is herself a formator, has sacrificed a lot to this venture in an unseen, unnoticed manner. In short, I can see in her gleaming eyes a tremendous love for the congregation and the province. Sister, it is good for you and for the province. I pray that God bless your apostolate, your ministry that you are doing for the province and the congregation in general. And now, before I call upon her to begin with, I would like to also invite the little sisters who will be presenting the prayer song. With that, we begin the session from thank you.
Let us dream, then, as a single human family, as fellow travelers, sharing the same flesh, as children of the same earth, which is our common home. Each of us bringing the riches of his or her beliefs and convictions. Each of us with his or her own voice, brothers and sisters all, sings Pope Francis in FT number 8. A very good evening to everyone present here. Respected Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, Sister Mercida, the Vicar Provincial, Sister Brigitte, the House Superior, Sisters, Postulants, Pre-Postulants, my dear brothers and sisters who will be listening to me at this very moment in different places. I am Sister Cecilia. This afternoon, I'm very happy and privileged to take this platform to give an introductory note on the third encyclical letter of Pope Francis, Fratelli, Tutti, brothers and sisters all. The encyclical was issued on 3rd October 2020 on the vigil of the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. Fratelli Tutti is clearly shaped by the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet, the text revealed that Pope Francis was already writing the encyclical at a time when the pandemic struck. FT number 7. It is a response to present-day attempts to eliminate or ignore others, and instead to promote a new vision of fraternity and social friendship. FT number 6. The encyclical appeals to all to acknowledge, appreciate, and love each person regardless of physical proximity, regardless of where he or she was born or lives. FT number 1. Chapter 1 contemplates dark clouds over a closed world, identifying certain trends in our world that hinder the development of universal fraternity. This includes shattered dreams of peace, widespread social exclusion, conflict and fear, the lack of truly universal respect for human rights, a throwaway culture that considers some people disposable, hostility towards migrants and refugees, and the challenge of authentic encounter and communication in our digital world. All this meant that the sense of belonging to a single human family is fading. FT number 30. Yet, Pope Francis also sees hope in all this. In this, he cites initial response to the COVID-19 pandemic, saying, "We began to realize that our lives are interwoven with and sustained by ordinary people, violently shaping the decisive events of our shared history. Doctors, pharmacies, storekeepers, and supermarket workers, cleaning personnel, caretakers, transport workers, men and women working to provide essential services and public safety, volunteers, priests, and religious. They understood that no one is saved alone." FT number 54. The title comes from an address by Saint Francis of Assisi, who is one of the primary sources of inspiration for the encyclical. Pope Francis also drew inspiration for this encyclical from his encounter with Grand Imam Ahmad al-Hayeb as he paid his visit in 2019 to mark the centenary of St. Francis' visit to Abu Dhabi. Pope Francis speaks about some of the major issues in his encyclical and invites us to promote a vision of social friendship grounded in the unity of the entire human family. All people are sisters and brothers to one another. All are children of God with equal dignity and rights. Racism, hostile responses to migration, the exclusion of people with disabilities, popularism, liberalism, and the need for a better kind of politics, one truly at the service of the common good, are the key issues. FT number 154. The need for more effective international institutions, a culture of dialogue and encounter, peace building and reconciliation, war and death penalty are also addressed. Pope Francis once again adopts a crisis approach to his teaching. He begins with a contemplation of the world before placing faith sources, especially scripture, in dialogue with these realities. His choice of the language of the unity of human family and solidarity, which are more common in the language of the unity of the human family, the emphasis is on being called by love rather than driven by duty. Francis appeals to our theological ethics, by rejecting revivalism while affirming the importance of an historical conscious approach that attends to multiple perspectives is a core part of the content of the encyclical and is reflective in its methodology. For example, it quotes the teachings of a range of National Bishops' Conference and honors the contribution of Grand Imam Ahmad Ayub. Fratelli Tutti offers the most extended reflection in the modern teachings on the social implications of the unity of the human family. In places, it picks up the language of social charity used in early 19th century social teachings, but it mainly frames the kind of love called for it in social realm as friendship. This is perhaps unsurprising for a Jesuit pope, given the importance of friendship with the Lord in Ignatian spirituality. This appears to be the first encyclical to address the exclusion of people with disabilities within the Church itself. While some commentators were expecting Pope Francis to declare the just war theory obsolete, the encyclical does not quite do so. Pope Francis criticizes the frequent use of an overly broad interpretations, FT number 258. However, striking the just war theory out of the catechism is simply not Pope Francis' concern. He says, instead, let us not remain mere in theoretical discussions, but touch the wounded flesh of the victims. Let us hear the true stories of these victims of violence. Look at reality through their eyes and listen with an open heart to the stories that they tell. In this way, we will be able to grasp the abyss of evil at the heart of war. Nor will it trouble us to lay knife for choosing peace, FT number 261. So, my dear sisters, let us our ears be open to hear the cry of our brothers and sisters, our eyes to see the distorted face of Christ in them. Thus, peace and unity may flood in our hearts, in our world. Having spoken this much, I would like to thank everyone present here and who will be listening to me from far for your attentive listening. And I also would like to wish my dear sisters and postulants best wishes, who will be helping us to understand the encyclical in detail. Thank you. Have an enjoyable time. Now I request Mrs. Serafia to come and take her time.
A very good afternoon, everyone present here. Respected Reverend Father Paul, the moderator of today's symposium, Reverend Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, Sister Mercida, the Vicar Provincial, Sister Bridget, the House Superior, Father Stephen John, Sisters, postulants who are present here and who are listening from different places. I am Sister Serafia Esebias, standing before you. The encyclical letter of Pope Francis, Fratelli Tutti, brothers and sisters all, consists of 8 chapters. Each of the chapter is pregnant with beautiful thoughts and wisdom. And I am very glad to begin with the first chapter and give you a short summary of it, namely, dark clouds over the closed world, in which God presents before us the present situation of our world. To begin with, I would like to quote the word of Holy Father as he said, Saint Francis heard the voice of God when he heard the voice of the poor. He heard the voice of the infirm and he heard the voice of the nature. He made them a way of life. My desire is that the seed that Saint Francis planted may grow in the hearts of many. Fratelli, Tutti, number 48, thereby FT. Pope Francis, with all his concern and love for humanity, says, there is dark clouds over the closed world, and these clouds are nothing but those circumstances that leave many people wounded by the roadside, discarded and rejected. These clouds plunge humanity into confusion, isolation and desolation. Under the shadow of this ever more tightly closed world, words like democracy, freedom, justice, and unity are manipulated and has lost its meaning. FT number 14. The Holy Father invites all of us to look at each other as brothers and sisters, to save ourselves and the world, in order to stop the further spread of dark clouds, for there is a deep agony due to the consequences of shattered dreams, loss of the sense of historical consciousness and human dignity. There is an increasing prevalence of selfishness, indifference, racism, poverty, disparity of rights, throwaway culture. People who are no longer productive and disabled are disregarded. They are not cared but thrown out. To this, Pope said with pain, what is thrown away are not only food and dispensable objects, but often human beings themselves. FT number 19. He recalls the misery of certain parts of the world where people, especially the elderly, were cruelly abandoned due to the coronavirus. They do not have to die this way, said Pope Francis. FT number 19. Turning his gaze upon our world, the Holy Father also points out many other forms of injustice, such as slavery, trafficking, human subjugation, forced abortion, organ trafficking, etc., which distorts our whole world badly. Persons are created to live together in families, in communities and societies where all are equal in dignity. If we deprive the weakest among us of the right to live, how can we effectively guarantee respect for every other right? Asked Holy Father in Osservatore Romano on 8 February 2021. In the past decades, the world seemed to have learned many lessons from several wars and disasters, and thus slowly moving towards integration. But sadly, in our world, in our times today, there has been regression and dreams of integration remain shattered. The global economy today unifies the world, but divides persons and nations. He further quotes, as society becomes ever more globalized, it makes neighbors, but does not make brothers and sisters. There is the temptation to build a culture of walls on the land, in the heart, in order to prevent the encounter with other people. FT number 27. In order to face the challenges that knows no borders, he said, we cannot erect walls, for everyone is brother and sister. The COVID-19 pandemic proved that we are all in the same boat, where no one can save themselves on their own, for we all need each other. So, Pope emphasizes that though we come from different continents, from every language and culture, with our own identities and differences, yet we are all brothers and sisters. And despite all these dark clouds, we need to be aware of the many new paths of hope as He calls us to renew hope. For hope speaks to us of something deeply rooted in every human heart. Hope is bold. It cannot look beyond personal convenience and security that limits our horizons and open us to grand ideals. Let us then continue to advance along the paths of hope, says Pope Francis. I would like to wind up the summary by praying for unity with the psalmist. How very good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. It is like the precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down upon the collar of his robes. Psalm 133, verse 1. Thank you everyone for lending your ears to me for these last few minutes. Thank you sisters who are watching now here and who will be watching later in different places. And now,
pleasant afternoon to you all. Respected Reverend Father Paul, the moderator, Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, Sister Mercida, the Vicar Provincial, sisters, and all my dear friends. I am Rosalind Martha, and today I am privileged to present the second chapter of the encyclical letter Fratelli, Tutti, with the title Stranger on the Road. We all agree to the saying that our life is a journey, which means we are traveling on a road where we come across different types of persons, circumstances, situations, and not forgetting strangers as well. In this new era, majority are strangers. Why? It is not because we do not know them that they are strange to us, but our pretension leads us to turn away from those who are suffering and abandoned by the societies. In the backdrop of this situation, Pope Francis proposes that our world is faced with many shadows. As we have heard from the first chapter proposed by Sister Sarafia, that these shadows are the darker side of our lives, faced with differences, discriminations, conflicts, violence, and many more. However, this encyclical responds with a luminous example, a herald of hope. Accordingly, Pope Francis uses the parable of the Good Samaritan. As we look upon the stranger, there are two attitudes we can take. Either we can pass by on the other side, or we can stop and be moved with pity. The type of person we are will be determined by whether we embrace the injured stranger or abandon him. The Pope emphasizes that we are in an unhealthy society, and we are still illiterate in caring for the frail and vulnerable. FT number 64. We are called to become good Samaritans. This invitation may sound ordinary to us, but Pope says, I should no longer say that I have neighbors to help me, but I should become a neighbor to help others. FT number 81. Here is the question, who is my neighbor? Ultimately, our answer is the one who is near and close to us. Jesus asks us to be present to those in need of help, regardless of our relation towards them. Every society has its own historical and cultural barriers. We are called to expand our hearts to embrace the foreigner and stranger by overcoming our prejudices, personal interests, putting aside our historical and cultural barriers. FT number 81. It is the goal of fraternal love. Pope Francis says, "Love shatters the chain that keeps us isolated, and in this place, love builds bridges." FT number 88. We are in fact co-responsible in creating and renewing our fragmented society by enabling ourselves to include, integrate, and lift up the fallen. It challenges us to emerge from our comfort zone by our contact with human suffering. The Holy Father says, "Life is not simply time that passes away, but life is a time for interaction, and we are made for love," particularly exhorting Christians to recognize Christ in the face of every excluded person. FT number 85. In brief, this chapter revolves around one spin, that is, to become a neighbor to others, which is an urgent invitation for us to become more human, feeling the pain of our neighbor, as Holy Father affirms strongly through the letter of St. Paul to Romans. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. FT number 84. These are the important points from the second chapter. I have highlighted only what I thought are very essential. Certainly, there are many more points which touch the core of human life, but due to the time constraint, I restrict myself up to this point. I thank you sincerely for your attention and active listening, including all the loving sisters who are present here and who will be listening to these from their respective places. If there is any clarification or contribution of ideas, you are most welcome.
A wonderful evening to all. Respected Father Paul, the moderator of the Symposium, Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, Sister Mercita, the Vice Provincial, Sister Bridget, the House Superior, brothers, sisters, and you all my dear friends. I am here to present before you the third encyclical, Fratelli, Tutti, all brothers and sisters, an inspiration of Pope Francis on fraternity and social friendship, evolving the essence of a fraternal openness that allows us to acknowledge, appreciate, and love each person. My sisters Serapia and Martha have already prepared the ground and led us in through chapter 1 and 2. And here I am, to take you all a little more deeper into the third chapter of the encyclical, titled Envisaging and Engendering an Open World. This chapter begins with article number 87 to 127. The Pope Francis highlights this chapter with 6 main subtitles. They are 1. Moving beyond ourselves. 2. A love ever more open. 3. Beyond a world of associates. 4. A universal love that promotes persons. 5. Promoting the moral good. specific emphasis on the issue of foreign debt, subject to the principle that it must be paid. It is hoped, nonetheless, that this does not compromise the growth and subsistence of the poorest countries. So before I conclude my chapter, dear friends, I would like to quote the beautiful writings of St. John Chrysostom, where he says, "Not to share our wealth with the poor is to rob them and take away their livelihood. The riches we possess are not our own but theirs as well." I repeat, not to share our wealth with the poor is to rob them and take away their livelihood. The riches we possess are not our own but theirs as well. So, dear brothers and sisters, let us start sharing, caring, giving for the welfare of others, and thus envision the new world by loving everyone without borders. Thank you one and all for your listening ears. Now
Glory to you, glory to you, glory to you for all creatures. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. For brothers love, for brothers love, for brothers love in His splendor. For sisterhood, for sisterhood, for sisterhood and for starlight. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. For brother we, for brother we, for brother we let the weather. For sister water, for sister water, for sister water pure and precious. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. For brother fire, for brother fire, for brother fire bright and cheerful. For mother earth, for mother earth, for mother earth, fruits and flowers. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. For those who pardon, for those who pardon, for those who pardon for your name's sake. For sister there, for sister there, for sister there, get to glory. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised. Most High, Almighty Lord, may your name be praised.
Good evening, everyone, respected fathers, sisters, and my dear friends. I am Sister Prema, and it is my pleasure to be here in front of you all to present a short summary on Chapter 4 of Fratelli, Tutti, Brothers and Sisters all. encyclical letter of fraternity and social friendship by Holy Father Pope Francis. After describing in his first 3 chapters the present challenges facing world today and the necessary response of fraternal charity and social friendship between individual, civic communities and nations, here in this 4th chapter titled A Heart Open to the Whole World, Pope Francis brings forward a huge migration problem affecting the people and gives us the conviction that all human beings are brothers and sisters and forces us to see things in a new light and to develop new responses. FD number 128. Challenges arise when our neighbor happens to be a migrant. Describing the problems created by current migration that create critical situations in host nations, Pope Francis described the process by which migrants should be integrated into receiving countries in 4 words: welcome, protect, promote, and integrate. FD number 129. 4. It is not a case of implementing welfare programs from the top down, but rather of undertaking a journey together while preserving their respective cultural and religious identity, are open to differences and to know how to promote them in the spirit of human fraternity. Many migrants have fled from war and persecutions. Many migrants are experiencing trafficking, psychological and physical abuse, and untold sufferings on their journey. FD number 38. Migrants are not seen as entitled like others to participate in the life of society, and it is forgotten that they possess the same dignity as any human person. FD number 39. No one will ever openly deny that they are human beings. Yet, in practice, by our decisions and the way we treat them, we can show that we consider them less worthy, less important, less human. In these current situations where migrant faces difficulties, Pope Francis points to several indispensable steps, especially in response to those who are fleeing grave humanitarian crisis, to increase and simplify the granting of visas, to open humanitarian corridors, providing suitable and dignified housing, to assure lodging, security and essential service, to offer opportunities for employment and training, to favor family reunification, and to guarantee religious freedom. FD number 130. Pope exhorts, it is important to apply the concept of citizenship, which is based on the equality of rights and duties, under which all enjoy justice. FD number 131. He says, what is needed above all is an international collaboration for migration which implements long-term planning. Migrants' lives are a reciprocal gift to the society. For the communities and societies to which they come, migrants bring an opportunity for enrichment and the integral human development of all. FD number 133. Let us not forget how many countries were actually shaped by intercontinental migration. Migrants, if they help to integrate, are a blessing, a source of enrichment, a new gift that encourages a society to grow. FD number 135. For this reason, Holy Father urges us to open our heart to the whole world and become an angel to them. We need to communicate with each other, to discover the gifts of each person, to promote that which unites us, and to regard our differences as an opportunity to grow in mutual respect. FT number 134. Show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unknowingly. Hebrew chapter 13 verse 2. Consequently, all of us are able to give without expecting anything in return. To do good to others without demanding that they treat us well in return. As Jesus told his disciples, without cost you have received, without cost you are to give. St. Matthew Gospel chapter 10 verse 8. In the words of Holy Father, let us see all human beings are as brothers and sisters, as a single human family, as fellow travelers, sharing the same flesh, as children of the same earth, which is our common home. FT number 8. Let us work together and make this world a better place to live. Thank you everyone present here and those who are in different places for your patient listening. Now I give...
Good evening, my dear brothers and sisters. I am Sister Genevieve, standing here to bring you all the creative knowledge of the third encyclical letter on fraternity and social friendship by Pope Francis, cover page as Fratelli, Tutti. Thereby, I will be presenting on chapter 5, a better kind of politics. This chapter has 5 subheadings. They are forms of populism and liberalism, international power, social and political charity, the exercise of political love, fruitfulness of the results. To begin with, a question arises here. Don't we all hope for better politics, especially this time of pandemic, when the virus not only touches the people in body, but also influence social relationships? So let me explain what is better politics. It is a better kind of politics of humanity, where every human being has the right to enjoy and must be given care and assistance he or she requires. So, according to Pope Francis, the aim of better politics is to build a bridge between rich and poor, caste, religion, country, and nation, so as to end all sorts of division, discrimination among the people. The kind of politics Pope Francis focuses is centered on human dignity and not subjected to finance, because the marketplace by itself cannot resolve every problem. FT number 168. Thus, the task of better politics is to find a solution to all that affects human rights, such as the marketing of human organs, human trafficking, terror attacks, weapons, drugs, sexual exploitation, slave labor, terrorism, etc. FT number 188. This chapter is actually an extension and update of the gospel message in today's world. The gospel does not call us to apolitical, but it calls to be politically sensitive. So, Pope Francis is strongly appealing to eliminate human trafficking, which is a source of shame for humanity, and hunger, which is criminal, because everyone has the right to eat. FT number 189. Our co-foundress Mother Chantal also proved this in her life. Her pocket was never empty for the poor. She went out to serve the poor in spite of the many challenges she had to face. Thus, Pope Francis invites the leaders to work towards a renewed form of politics in which concern for the common good becomes a priority once again. One of the great problems that are being faced all over the world is populism. So, what is populism? Populism is exploiting the mind of ignorant people, making many promises and without fulfilling it. It is just a selfish motives in order to increase its own popularity. Thus, violence increases at every level with the proliferation of weapons, and we see around us a world torn by wars and divisions. We feel an ever greater need for peace, a peace that is not only the absence of war, but rather a life rich in meaning, rooted in and lived through personal fulfillment and fraternal sharing with others. It is therefore necessary for all political and religious leaders to set aside their personal interests and to commit themselves to pursuing justice for the good of their fellow citizens, acting transparently and taking responsibility for their actions. Before I wind up, let us reflect some of the questions that Pope Francis has asked. What is my real aim? How much love did I put into my work? What mark did I leave on the life of society? What good deed I achieved in the position that was entrusted to me? FT number 197. Thank you for patiently listening to me, dear sisters present here, and those who are listening at different places. Now,
Hello. Hi. A very good evening to all.
Good evening.
I am Porcelain Lucy to present the 6th chapter of the encyclical letter Fratelli, Tutti, which is not only interesting but also very relevant to all of us. Dialogue is nothing but approaching, speaking, listening, daring to look at each other in the eyes and speak, coming to know and understand one another. FT number 198. Dialogue has become very important aspect in the religious as well as secular life in the community and in the society, as Pope Francis says that dialogue opens the way to a culture of encounter, so that encounter becomes a passion, a desire, and a way of life. This same idea is also found in the SABS Constitution, Article 98. Dialogue is an effective means to strengthen the unity in the community. A country flourishes when constructive dialogues occur within its many rich cultural components such as popular culture, university culture, youth culture, etc. FT number 199. But Pope Francis affirms that lack of dialogue means people are concerned not for the common good, rather for the benefit of power or to impose their own ideas. FT number 202. We see this happening in the corrupt politics of our present time. Today, in our globalized world, the media can help us a lot in this dialogue and social friendship. It helps us to feel closer to one another, create a sense of unity and a human family. The internet in particular offers immense possibilities for encounter and solidarity. FT number 205. Pope Francis wants to tell us that the use of media is not for distraction, but rather for construction and friendship. So, there arises a big question. Does media really serve positively to grow in dialogue and social friendship? Yes, definitely. When we use it at the right time for the right purpose, it would have a positive result. On the contrary, if we misuse, it has a negative impact, as it is mentioned in FT number 205, and I quote, "The media can help us to feel closer to one another, creating a sense of unity, a human family." Therefore, we are meant to understand that through proper dialogue and social friendship, there will be a miracle, which is kindness, says our Holy Father Pope Francis, which is an attitude to be cultivated or rediscovered because it is a star shining in the midst of darkness and frees us from cruelty, anxiety, etc., which is prevalent in our present world. FT number 222. With this, I end my presentation. Yes, dear friends, this is all I have to present. Thank you for your
A pleasant evening to each and everyone. It's a great privilege for me to be a part of today's symposium. Respected dear Reverend Father Paul OFMK, Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, Sister Mercida, the Vicar Provincial, Sister Bridget, the House Superior, and my dear sisters and brothers in Christ Jesus. My name is Sister Emilia. I will be continuing Chapter 7, titled Paths of Renewed Encounter, from the encyclical letter Fratelli Tutti of the Holy Father Pope Francis on fraternity and social friendship. In this chapter, the Holy Father Pope Francis focuses on promotion of peace, which is connected to justice, mercy, and forgiveness, because in many parts of the world there is a need for peace, but a peace to heal the open wounds. There is also a need for peacemakers who work boldly, courageously, and creatively, that takes initiative for the process of healing. Renewed encounter doesn't mean looking back or turning to the conflicts, but rather, as the time goes, pain, conflicts transforms us. We should therefore not to condemn anyone, others in our life, but to value them and to give them a spark of hope in each one's life. It is not just enough to be engaged in new paths. We have to face the reality of the injuries of the past encounters and establish and walk the paths of re-encounter. We need to heal wounds, which requires seeking and offering forgiveness, because to forgive is to forget, and we must love the oppressor, helping him or her to change life. Here, Pope Francis says, "Forgive but not to forget." What does it mean? Here Pope says, because those who truly forgive do not forget. Instead, they choose not to yield to same destruction that causes them much suffering. In the same way, the path to encounter, I recall back the sayings or the motto of the venerable founder, Bishop Thomas Correlation of SAPS Congregation, whose motto was to renew everything in Christ. So, the Holy Father also writes on just war. He says that today we can no longer think of the possibility of a just war, but we strongly reaffirm never war again in FT 258. A war, as Pope says, is the failure of politics and dialogue. War represents negation of all rights. The nuclear, chemical, and biological weapon strikes many innocent civilians. Pope Francis suggests that the money invested on weapons can be turned to a global fund for the elimination of hunger. And Pope is deeply aware of this. That's why he denounces all sorts of war. Pope Francis also expounds on the death penalty. What does it mean? Death penalty, he states, death penalty is inadmissible and must be abolished worldwide. FT 263. Let us keep in mind the quote of Pope Francis. Not even a murderer loses his personal dignity in FT 269. Pope Francis writes that God himself pledges to guarantee this. That is why Pope Francis rightly stresses on the necessity to respect the sacredness of life. Finally, the encyclical Fratelli Tutti intends to tap a very significant recourse for building human fraternity. The Holy Father states in FT number 270 that as Christians we must never take to violence. In conclusion, I would like to reaffirm the appeal of the Holy Father Pope Francis in FT 8. It is my desire that in this time, by acknowledging the dignity of each human person, we can contribute to the rebirth of a universal aspiration to fraternity. Fraternity between all men and women. We need a community that supports and helps us, in which we can help one another keep looking ahead. How important it is to dream together. Let us dream as a single human family, as fellow travelers, sharing the same flesh, as children of the same earth, which is our common home. Each one of us bringing the richness of his or her beliefs and convictions, each of us with his or her own voice, brothers and sisters all. Therefore, thank you everyone for your presence and kind attendance, and
I stand here to propose a beautiful encyclical letter on fraternity and social friendship by Pope Francis, entitled Fratelli Tutti. The first 7 chapters my sisters out here have already presented. To follow up the next topic, I would like to give a taste or flavor to you in a nutshell on chapter 8, which is in fact the last and final chapter of the encyclical, that is, Religions at the Service of Fraternity in Our World. In this chapter, the Holy Father asserts that
the different religions of the world plays a very important role in the societies. As the name of the chapter itself indicates clearly that every religion should build common sharing, friendship, and support. In the episode of this present life, so to say, the present time, there are a lot of clashes against one's religion. We as humans are lost in making the difference of origin, nationality, race, color, religions, etc. Yet in this chapter, Pope Francis clearly presents when there is dialogue among all religions, we establish friendship, harmony, and share spiritual and moral values. A cry for oneness, peace, and unity among religions in every sphere of the world is heard. To seek out this, we are called for greater cooperation among all religions, for the common good and for the promotion of the poor. The present pandemic, COVID-19, is an eye-opener where all religions, either the Christians, Hindus, Muslims, they are all being cremated. In this situation, we witness there is no discrimination against caste, color, religion. On the contrary, as visible image of the invisible God, human person possesses a transcendent dignity. They are therefore the very nature, the subjects of right that no one can violate. Our witnessing to God benefits our societies. For this reason, the Church, while respecting the freedom of action of political life, does not remain at the sidelines but work for the integrated human development, which is above and over her charitable and educational activities. Here, the Church or the religions are not called to compete with earthly powers, but to offer oneself as a family among families. Holy Father emphasizes religious freedom as one of the basic importance, where we can build harmony and understanding between different religions and cultures, which lead to peaceful coexistence as children of God. At the same time, in this context, Christ called for oneness, but this oneness is lacking in our present situation. In FT number 278, Pope Francis says, Mary cares not only for Jesus, but also for the rest of her children. She wants to give birth to a new world, a world where all of us are brothers and sisters, where there is room for all, and where justice and peace are resplendent. So, my dear brothers and sisters, we can live as one family, to which Pope Francis particularly quotes the document of human fraternity for world peace and living together, which we find in FT 285. It is an interesting and wonderful work which he signed on 4 February 2019 in Abu Dhabi with his encounter with Grand Imam Ahmad Al-Tayyib. It is a wake-up call for all religions, and moreover the religious leaders, a call to live together as brothers and sisters, to dream together. Joining with Pope Francis, may God inspire the dream in each one of us. I wind up my presentation here. Thank you, dear participants, for your kind attention.
A pleasant evening to all. In the first place, thank you for having me. I am Porcelain gladly standing here to give you a fitting conclusion. Yes, we are at the end of this beautiful symposium of the papal encyclical Fratelli Tutti on fraternity and social friendship. We have been enlightened and inspired through the excellent and well-summarized presentation by our sisters. To this, it is my pleasure to give you all the recap of each chapter, so as to make ourselves more clear about the encyclical. This also will help us to study personally in a better way. In the first chapter, titled Dark Clouds Over a Closed World, Pope Francis tells us that dark clouds over a closed world are spreading everywhere, leaving injured people by the roadside. As a result, plunges humanity into confusion and desolation. In this way, Holy Father presents the situational context of the document. In the second chapter, titled A Stranger on the Road, Pope Francis tells us that when we come upon an injured stranger on the roadside, we can assume one of two attitudes. We can stop or we can stop to help. The help which we render will define the type of person we are or the religious group we belong to. Thus, Pope Francis calls us to love and also invites us to share that love to uninjured brothers and sisters. In the third chapter, titled Envisaging and Engendering an Open World, in this chapter, Holy Father urges the world to have a world without walls, without borders, without people rejected, and without strangers, while he invites us to have an open heart to achieve this world with love. Because our God is a universal love, and he says we are part of that love. In the fourth chapter, titled A Heart Open to the Whole World, in this chapter, Pope Francis talks about social friendship. He says we need to experience social friendship rather than social media, because Pope Francis is so sure that we are all part of a universal fraternity, and that is why he says we are all called to solidarity. Thus, in this way, Pope Francis presents the importance of an openness of heart to welcome each and everyone, regardless of color, race, culture, and religion. In the fifth chapter, titled A Better Kind of Politics, here in this chapter, Pope Francis exhorts us to create an open world with an open heart, which he calls a better politics, and to engage in human-based politics, because he knew it is essential for every man and woman who practice political love by integrating the economy with social and life-giving human projects. In the sixth chapter of our Pope's letter titled Dialogue and Social Friendship, here Pope Francis says that dialogue is the way to open the world and build trust on social friendship, for he believes that dialogue will provide better politics. Hence, he continues that dialogue will give us an encounter, a way of life, a passionate desire, with love and respect for each other. Thus, Pope Francis invites us, each and every one of us, to have a dialogue, to talk it out and share it. And when we do so, That's how we build a better social friendship in our world. Well, in the 7th chapter, titled Paths of Renewed Encounter, our Holy Father says it is not enough just to engage in encounter, but he rather tells us that in this 7th chapter, to establish and walk the paths of re-encounter. Yes, we need to heal the wounds which requires seeking and offering forgiveness, because he says to forgive is not to forget. So we need to recognize the historical truth with justice and mercy. Holy Father says war is a recourse that must be rejected, and the practice of death penalty must be eliminated. For he says, we are all human beings as God's creatures, despite all our differences. In the 8th and final chapter, titled Religious at the Service of Fraternity in Our World, it is a very important and interesting topic exhorted by our Holy Father. Here, Pope Francis is making himself so sure that through this chapter, that through fraternity, we begin to recognize our universal condition as brothers and sisters. He says, for Christians, the wellspring of human dignity and fraternity is in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that is pretty much inspires our actions and commitments. This path of fraternity also has a mother called Mary, says Pope Francis. In conclusion, Pope Francis elaborates that we need to, even if we are faced with shadows of a closed world, still we need to recognize that we are Fratelli Tutti, brothers and sisters all.
I will be there. So you are most welcome to ask them if some of the aspects are being left behind by them. You are most welcome, and that will be also benefiting us all. Second,
The first chapter, Sister Sarafia. So, Sister Sarafia, you have mentioned about the women subjugation. So, what do you mean about the women subjugation? Please can you tell us about it a little bit?
Thank you. I think Pope Francis tells us the different injustice being done in the society. So women's subjugation is nothing but it is a state of being under control. In some of the culture, especially let's say India, they keep women inferior to men and doesn't let them advance and go ahead. So that is meant by women's subjugation. I hope I have given you the answer.
So goes to Sister Sarafia. In your, you have mentioned the paths of hope. What are these paths of hope you meant?
Paths of hope, Paul says, this path of hope will lead us out of dark clouds. So this path of path of hope consists hope, love, justice, and solidarity. So this path of hope is not only hope, but it consists three things that are love, justice, and solidarity.
question.
Little clarification only. First of all, let me congratulate my dear young sisters. They have done wonderful things. First of all, let me congratulate them. As Father said, we are not going to put down, asking the question and put down, but to help us about this women, Sarabhi has said. In this present situation, is it possible if we do something about, because we are giving out a lot of importance for women empowerment and all, in this situation, what we can do it?
We all have heard that all are brothers and sisters, and we have no right to put down anyone. Everyone is equal. Pope Francis strongly appealed that. So to uplift the women, first of all, we need to give awareness, give proper education not only to the female male, but give equal education to the women. That's what we, our congregation especially, have special interest towards the education and upliftment of women. That we have to go for it without without let it down, because it is a dream of our founder to uplift the women. If we take little more interest to give more attention to women, this women's education or to uplift the women is possible.
Thank you.
Chemical and biological weapons.
Thank you, sister. That's a very good question. According to my understanding, here our Holy Father Pope Francis exhorts just war, and in that just war, he mentioned about the nuclear, chemical, and the biological that strikes the innocent civilians. So, when we look back the history, in the year 1945, in the two cities, Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they are killed, more than thousands lakhs were killed due to this atomic bombing by the USA. So in that way, Bob is saying that if there is a war by using all these chemicals and the nuclear weapons, then the people in the society cannot live peacefully. So according to my understanding, the question, it is clear for you, sister.
I would like to ask Martha on chapter 2, that is, how can love build bridge? Can you please explain to us? First of all, we know bridge connects two ends together. In the same way, love can bring two persons or many more people together. When we don't have negative feelings towards each other, the distance between us becomes closer, and it is love that builds our relationship.
I'd like to clarify my doubt on chapter 8. I would like to ask, what does Pope Francis mean actually from this chapter?
Thank you for your question. Yes, through my presentation, I have said that Pope is calling everyone, every religions to be one, to respect each other, rather instead of building wars, but to build harmony, peace, and to respect each other's dignity. Therefore, we can build a peaceful harmony in every sphere of the world, as we are called the children of God.
My question is to Sister Genevieve. What does Pope meant by saying a better kind of politics? Can you explain more about a better kind of politics?
Thank you, sister, for your questions. According to Pope Francis, what he means is that, seeing the situation now in this world, the political leaders, we can see, as I have presented in my paper also, they, before becoming a leader, they promised many things to the innocent people. They said that I will do this, I will build your house if you vote for me, I will give money, and all these things they make promises. But once they become a political leader, they forget all these things, but they work for their personal or individual, for their life. So what Pope means is that it's not for the individual, but we have to see the need for our neighbors. And we have to work for the common good and recognize especially the poor and the needy who is abandoned by the people.
I would like to get the clear meaning of migrants are a reciprocal gift to the society, and that question goes to Sister Prema.
Thank you, Sister Margaret, for your beautiful question. Here, Pope Francis, what he means to say is that migrants are a reciprocal gift to the society. As a human, we are a social beings. We need the help of each other. As we look in the present society, many people are going abroad for their livelihood. There they work in the factory, in the companies, in the hospitals. In return, they get their livelihood better. So as they work there, they contribute to the economy of the country. So Bob here exhausts that migrants are helpful, and if we help them, in return they also will help us.
That is what you mean by a dark cloud in the sky.
Thank you, dear friend, for your question. And the dark clouds over the closed world, our Holy Father Pope Francis, it refers to.
My question is very simple. Someone has mentioned about right to live with dignity. And can you tell us something more? What do you mean by right to live with dignity? And I would like to add one more. If you can explain to us, what do you mean by transcendent dignity?
Thank you, sister, for your question. Well, this transcendent dignity means as God created us in His own image and likeness, and as every individual, we possess a grace or we possess a right that God has given us and that nobody can violate. As individual or any other, what we possess, nobody can violate it from us or destroy it from us. It is for our own good. Say, for example, like a story. One day, a small boy was asking an ice cream. Then Mother Teresa came across and he called this small boy, saying, "I will buy it for you," and he took him. Then when Mother Teresa gave him the ice cream, the small boy asked Mother Teresa, "Are you a god?" Then Mother Teresa said, "No, I am not a god, but I am human like you." So therefore, the grace we have received from God is not visible, but as an image of God, we are in front of others as an image of God, and the grace we receive from Him is only for us, and therefore that one no one can violate. This is what I understand.
The question is very simple. She speak about dialogue and dialogue. Then the question is, how is dialogue important in our present community? I would like.
Thank you, sister, for your question. And since I know that dialogue is very relevant to each and every one of us, I will give you a very basic example. And so, dialogue is very important dialogue is very important in the community, because when the community members share her experiences, ideas or opinions, the other person will understand more to her, and it will really foster the relationship and the communion in the community.
Chapter 3 goes to Professor Roslina. Roslina, you have mentioned that every country belongs to foreigners. What does it mean? Can you please explain a little bit more?
Fratelli, Tutti, all brothers and sisters. And here what Pope Francis wants to tell us is, all are our brothers and sisters. It is no matter whether that person is born in our country, India or Pakistan or elsewhere. We are all brothers and sisters, and we should love them without border. And every human being has a dignity and the rights to get their rights. And the best example we have in our own country, that is Saint Mother Teresa.
My question goes to chapter 2. Why does Pope say that we are still illiterate? Can you please tell us?
Thank you for your question.
The Pope says that we are still illiterate in caring for the frail and vulnerable, because though we have accomplished high degrees in studies, if we do not have the sense of caring and loving one another, we are equal to an illiterate person, because these are the basic things in the society.
I would like to ask you a question. In her chapter 8, she mentioned about witnessing to God benefits our society. I would like to know what does it mean?
For your question, our witnessing to God benefit our societies means that every religion in this world have own belief. Like Christians, we believe in Jesus Christ. Like Muslims, they believe in Allah. And Hindus, they believe in Shiv or whatnot. So through our faith experience, or maybe at times through our failures and weakness, we could experience the presence of God or the experience Jesus in us. So therefore, through our experiences, we are benefiting the societies.
Very enlightened by the well-summarized presentations of each chapter, were not our hearts burning within us while they spoke about the chapters of encyclicals? Yes, our hearts were burning when they were explaining to us the chapters of Fratelli, Tutti. Yes, indeed, we were, and they did it wonderfully well. Well, I stand here once again to pronounce the moderator's concluding remark, but certainly not before spelling out my customary gratefulness. Not much, only a couple of things on what has been done. To my little sisters, all is done excellently well. I knew that you could, and you did it. Bravo, my dear sisters, very good. To arrive to this level, I have made you to sweat. I have kept you on your toes, even bothering you. And now I render my sincere thanks to you, and I salute you for enlightening us today. And to my dear sisters who are far and near, in a distant communities and centers, I would like to thank you for the time that you have and you will be dedicating to watch this video. I know it may be quite inconvenient at times for you, but the sisters have made long chapters into a short summary so as to make us understand. And I vouch that they have not left any important aspect from the chapter. Therefore, if you listen to the presentations attentively, carefully, you will be able to understand the text of the encyclical easily. And you will do well to listen to them, and I wish you all the best. And now here in my concluding remark, many ask me, but how to study such a long and bulky encyclical, Father? Well, my answer is here, my dear friends. This is the way we study. The speakers of the day have done a lot of homeworks and initiated us to understand better. What they have done is just a beginning. We have to begin to read with this basic knowledge of each chapter which they have enlightened us with. If so, when we do this, we will be able to understand the context, we will be able to understand the content and implication, and certainly applications to our life locally, our life, congregational ways, provincial level, and certainly contributing to the society by a better way of living. And that's where I would like to say a big thanks to this community for giving us a lot of liberty to practice, to read together, to interact with each other and arrive to this stage. I would like to conclude, but not once again, without mentioning our little Franciscan Capuchin brother, Brother Stephen John, a very busy man. Recently he procured his instruments, and he has put everything at our disposal today to be a blessing to us. I would like to implore Mother Catherine's blessing upon him and also all other sisters. Pray for him so that he does well in his exam. He has dedicated this time without much of caring for himself and his time. He has put at our disposal all the equipments that he has got. And I think from your father it's very beautiful. In our tradition, whatever we receive first fruit to the church, and whatever we have received from goodness from everyone, your well-wishers, we have put at the disposal for the use of our good sisters, which will go long and the blessing you will not lack. So thank you once again, Brother Stanley John, for your generosity of time. And just 1.5 minutes. I thought some of our speakers will mention this, but they probably were not able to give time, or maybe it don't belong to the topic. The inspiration comes from Admonition chapter 6 of Francis of Assisi's writing, in which he says, imitation of Christ. He begins the chapter with, let all of us, brothers, try to imitate Christ, not our own way. From there, Pope Francis says in the encyclical, quoting the same in the first number, St. Francis of Assisi used to call his brothers all brothers. With this inspiration, I would like to go ahead. And so, the direct primary inspiration comes from the admonition of St. Francis of Assisi. And afterwards, the use of the term Fratelli Tutti, translation from Italian would mean brothers. Then some of the criticisms that came up was, how is that Pope is using only exclusive term instead of inclusive term? The Pope's answer is this. Usually when we quote someone's quotation, someone's word, we would like to be original. So, Francis used the term brothers because at that point of time, sisters were not there. But if the sisters were to be there, certainly he would have used brothers and sisters. And so, it means just to keep up the original text of the document, he has used the same term without any change. But Pope in no way tries to exclude. Almost 15 times Pope uses the women empowerment, which means very much dedicated to men and women equally, brothers and sisters. And therefore, to us and to others, those who may have doubt, we will do well to remember that it is not at all exclusive term, it is inclusive term. And so, with this blessing of St. Francis of Assisi, with the prayer intercession of our Holy Father Pope Francis, and for all of us, we have enlightened each other with the blessing of Mother Catherine, the Provincial Superior, and her counselors who are here, who are not here. We render to you our big thanks to you and to our sisters who have worked closely to make this day presentation day. That will also benefit all our sisters far and wide, as well as at a distant land. So with these words, I would like to say a big thanks. Thank you, Fratelli Tutti, grazie, thank you. I call upon our Mother Catherine to give us my.
My dear fathers, sisters, Muslims and pre-Muslims, a very good evening to all.
Good evening, Mother.
Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as though you are working for the Lord, not for men. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. Yes, my dear father and sisters, last 1 week you are working for the success of this symposium based on Fratelli Tutti, brothers and sisters. Your hard work gave us a chance for a deep reflection on what is happening in this world around us, among us sisters and brothers, the challenges what we face. Congratulations to Reverend Father Paul. You are guiding and directing our sisters. Your hard work became very fruitful. Congratulations, Father. May the Eucharistic Lord bless you and bless all your activities. Congratulations to my dear loving sisters and Muslims. You cooperated with the Father and worked hard. You can be proud of that. You have done something great, not only for yourselves, but for our congregation, especially for our province. I really appreciate your excellent work and I am proud of you. I express my sincere congratulations to each one of you. My dear sisters and Muslims, you are also part and parcel of this success of this program. Like oil in the oil lamp. Thank you very much, my dear sisters. Every beginning has a beautiful end. Dear Father Stubby, you put garlands on this program. And may God bless you, and we can receive to the Eucharistic Lord. Eucharistic Lord blessings will be always with us. We always will pray for the Father, and may God bless you. May God bless our sisters. Best compliments to all of you. Good evening, all of you. With the sentiments of gratitude, I stand here to say a big and sincere thanks to all of you. In a special way, Father Paul Inache, the moderator of the day. Dear Reverend Father Paul Inache, under the able guidance and the leadership of yours, our sisters, they have systematically learned each chapter of the Fratelli, Tutti, and they presented very well in this symposium. We are really taken up seeing the presentation of our sisters. We are very sure that Father has worked hard to put it in a beautiful manner. Special congratulations to you, Father. Dear Father Paul, we acknowledge and appreciate the hard work and effort you have put for making this day a beautiful and memorable one. Dear speakers, congratulations to all of you. You have presented very well. All of us understood the meaning of Fratelli Tutti. Now we will be interested to learn properly this encyclical and write the exam very well. I hope and believe that our junior sisters will be more interested to learn this encyclical
and score good marks and come out successfully with the flying colors. Our sisters will be watching and listening this symposium from their own centers. I believe that they will benefit a lot. Not only junior sisters, senior sisters also will benefit a lot. First, we will be having the exam for junior sisters. Afterwards, senior sisters also will take the exam. The mark will be, we will inform Father Paul also. So, he is the pillar behind all this. Father, big congratulations to you and all the resource persons present here. And again, I congratulate Father Stephen John. He has contributed a lot for the success of today's program. Thank you, Father. We will remember and pray for your B.Ed examinations. All the best. And again, our young sisters, postulants and pre-postulants, those who did not take part in the symposium, they also presented a colorful steps to add more color for today's program and make it beautiful and memorable one. Thank you, one and all.